Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. He's Mike Brenner. I'm Peter Lojek. We are the odds couple. Today is Thursday, April 13th. The NBA playoffs is here. Mike Brenner, we're very excited. It's always fun. And also, last year, we both did pretty well in the NBA playoffs. So hopefully we can do it again. We're going to take an early look right now at all 8 of the first-round series with Al McMorty, Big Al McMorty from BigAl.com, who's been doing this for 30 years. Al McMorty, in general, you handicap everything all year long, hockey, everything, baseball. How do you feel about the NBA playoffs? You like handicapping the NBA playoffs? You feel like you can find good edges?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love the NBA playoffs, and I think the series actually confers some pretty good advantages as well. So for people who want to, bet on the certain teams to win the series, they should really pay attention here.
All right. Well, this might be a little bit of a long video, but the good news is it's because we're going to touch on all 8 of the series with Al McMorty. So this is great. We'll hopefully get some insights from Al McMorty, some passionate yelling from Mike Brenner, and yeah. All right. So let's start with Portland Golden State. Obviously, Golden State is the overwhelming favorite to win the West. They're a minus 11,000 favorite here over Portland. Towards the end of the year, though, Golden State was on a huge ATS run, 12-2-1 ATS. But before that, they were actually a bad bet ATS. Al McMorty, do you think Portland wins the game here?
No, and I'm on record. You can go read an article I wrote way back in October. I'm on record as saying I believe Golden State's going to go 16-0 in this year's playoffs. So that's what I think about this upcoming NBA postseason. I think it's going to be a cakewalk for Golden State.
Wow, that's a pretty bold opening statement from Al McMorty.
I like that.
What do you think about that? He predicts Golden State goes 16-0.
Could it happen? Yeah, I don't know. That's asking a hell of a lot. But, I do think that could be the dominant team. I don't know, though. Houston might give them a little run. It's going to be interesting. And also with this Portland series, I hear Joseph Nurkic, who was the great addition, that really changed the dynamics of that team. He's trying to get back on the court already. He's waiting for them to give him a green light, but it's going to be too late because right now Lillard, McCollum, and Crabbe are all questionable. They're all banged up pretty severely. Golden State cakewalk in the first round.
All right, so if you think that Golden State is going to go 16-0, then presumably you think that Golden State to win the NBA championship right now at minus 144 would be a pretty decent bet, right, Al?
Yeah, I put it out actually as a complimentary selection way back, a long time ago at minus 127. So what's really interesting to me is things haven't even changed. All Golden State was minus 127 before the season started, and that means when you bet it, then you're taking on injury risk and other things, and now all they've done is go out and win another 65, 70 games, and they're only minus 144. I think it's a terrific bet. And throw in the fact that their main contenders, Cleveland and San Antonio, really don't look all that good.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
That's right. Cleveland is the second choice right now, Pinnacle at plus 280, and the Spurs are about 8-1, and beyond that, everyone else is 20-1 or more. And you're right, given how the Cavs look both just on the court in their win-loss record over the last 20 or 30 games and some of their advanced metrics, not looking too promising for Cleveland. Not saying that they're a terrible team, but not in Golden State's league.
I totally agree also. And, Pete, I think if anybody's going to give them, some kind of absolute challenge, I think it's going to be Houston. Because I'm like Al said, the Spurs, that's a different team, different dynamics. Without Tim Duncan on that bench, it means a hell of a lot. I am not sold on that team, but I do think if Golden State puts it together early, look out. I think they could walk through this also.
All right, then a relatively competitive series, Utah and the Clippers. Utah about plus 230 to win the series. Clippers at minus 280. Both these teams had some health issues during the year, and now they're getting healthier as the season winds down, as regular season winds down, heading into the series. What's your take on this one, Al?
I'm going to lean to the Los Angeles Clippers here. They've completely dominated the Utah Jazz. They're 18-2 straight up the last 20 meetings. This season, they're 3-1 straight up versus Utah, and their average point spread differential in those 4 games is plus 8.62. I think the Clippers are going to win. I think it'll be slightly competitive, but I think the Clippers win in 5 or 6 games.
All right. Utah is getting a little healthier, though. Mike Brenner, what do you think about this series?
I completely agree. I think it's going to be 4-1 Clippers, if not a sweep. Gobert and Jordan's going to be one hell of a matchup, and Hayward and Griffin also. But I just think the fact that they have this team's number, like Al said, 18, straight up out of the last 20. Clippers have put it together quietly. They're playing very good ball. They're healthy besides Austin Rivers, which isn't a big factor. I think this is going to be be a no-brainer. I think they could either sweep it or win 4 games to 1.
Of course, the Clippers got off to a huge start in the beginning of the season, and then they had some injury issues, so they might start playing reminiscent of the way they played in the beginning of the regular season.
And that's not taking anything away from Utah. Yeah.
Right. Then we have an interesting series, OKC Houston, and oddly, Pinnacle doesn't have any series odds for this one yet. Obviously, we have Houston looking very, very impressive, very deep, and OKC is basically all about Russell Westbrook. OKC, though, was a strong bet at home, 26-14-1 ATS at home, and just 19-22 ATS on the road. Al McMorty, what do you think? Do you think either team has a significant edge here?
Yeah, I do. I think out of all the 8 series, this is my favorite series bet of the 8. I think it confers the most value. I mean, obviously, I love Golden State to beat Portland, but, you have to lay, $110 to win a dollar, whatever it is. But I really, 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 really like Houston here. One interesting thing, the Oklahoma City Thunder, you just mentioned their home record, but their last 6 times they've been favored against the Rockets, they're 0-6 against the spread. That doesn't bode well for games being played in Oklahoma. Houston was 3-1 straight up in the regular season versus Oklahoma City, and my research has shown that if you're an underdog in a series, if you're a lower seeded team, for example, you've got problems if you were 0-4 or 1-3 straight up in the regular season. If you haven't shown an ability in the regular season to defeat a team straight up, it's not going to happen in the playoffs, and there is a strong correlation, and I love Houston in this series.
Really? Mike Brenner, what do you think?
Too. There's no doubt in my mind. I think Houston in 5 at the most. I really do. OKC's it's a one-weapon team, and everybody knows it. They're definitely going to match up against them, and I really think you're going to see Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson just explode from three-point land in this series. I think they're going to take the weight off of, obviously, James Harden. I think I have to agree with Al. Out of all the series, I like this one the most as far as value.
One thing that's interesting to me is that the 4 games this year, both games in Houston went over by a good margin, and both games in OKC went under by a good margin. Interesting to take note of. Now, Memphis and the Spurs. Let's move on to that one. Of course, last year the Spurs absolutely dominated Memphis, but Memphis was super banged up. Yep. Now they rematch in the first round again, and presumably Memphis will be looking for some kind of revenge, but the Spurs are the Spurs. Just an awesome, awesome program, and I don't know. Right now, the odds have the Spurs at minus 1,100, Memphis at plus 720 to pull it out, so market giving a small chance to Memphis, but not a very good one. Al McMorty, what's your take on that series?
I think actually this is probably the most fascinating series. One of the things, these two teams have met time and time again in the playoffs. You go back to that 2011 year. That was the year the Spurs were seeded number 1, and Memphis famously, wanted the 8 seed so they could play the San Antonio Spurs because they matched up well. And indeed, I think at that time, after they defeated the Spurs in that playoffs 4-2, the Grizzlies had gone, I think it was 10-0-1 ATS over an 11-game stretch against the Spurs. So they had completely dominated San Antonio right up until that Game 6 of that 2011 series. And then it flipped. And ever since the Spurs lost that series to Memphis, San Antonio is now 6-6 straight up against the Memphis Grizzlies and 20-11 and a push ATS. So the Spurs have completely dominated the Grizzlies ever since 2012. Now, you look at this year, it's 2-2 straight up, and Memphis is 4-0 ATS. So all of a sudden you see it starting to change a little bit. And I actually would give a slight lean with the odds that Memphis can win this series. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but I definitely wouldn't lay the 1,100 with San Antonio.
Yeah, I hear you. You're kind of thinking the Spurs are an awesome machine, but how much longer can Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili play at this elite level? What do you think, Mike Brenner?
Well, I think Al got into my office early and saw my notes because I have it right here. 4-0 against the spread this year. Memphis is getting back to being healthy. The Spurs are just a total different team without Duncan. And even though he's not, his dynamics, whether he was on the bench or in the locker room, it made the difference. I'm not sold on this team, and I think this series might really surprise some people. And I wouldn't be surprised if Memphis gets a couple home wins.
Yeah,
they could bring it.
Might go down to 7. All right, now let's move on to the East. The Bulls and Celtics, and we know that in the NHL playoffs, the series are usually competitive, even the 8 ones. In the NBA playoffs, there's a lot of series where it's just like one team basically has no chance. So usually the 8-1 matchup just has a minus 11,000 lines like we're seeing with Golden State. But in the East, the 8-1 matchup is Boston and Chicago, and a Pinnacle right now, Boston, the top seed, just minus 460 to win this series. Not to win the East, just to win this series, minus 460. And the Bulls plus 360 to upset the number 1 seed, Boston. Al McMorty, what's your take on this series and those odds?
You know, it's interesting. It's kind of like shades of, we were just talking about the Grizzlies Spurs, back in 2011. Well, I mean, this is kind of reminiscent because back then everyone said this is the biggest upset. The Grizzlies just upset the #1 seeded Spurs. But the odds were just what this series odds were at the time. It wasn't that like a typical 1-8 series. And I think this is, danger for the Boston Celtics here. And if the Chicago Bulls happen to split that first 2 games and go back to the Windy City, look at Boston's record in Chicago. They're dreadful. I think they're 2-12 straight up and 3-11 ATS their last 14 games in Chicago. So, this is a real treacherous series for Boston. They do not match up well with the Bulls.
And the Bulls did close 10-4 ATS over their last 14. Mike Brenner, what's your take on this?
Interesting outlook, and I could not agree with Al more. This could be danger right here, and I think Boston knows it. They know they don't play well in Chicago, and what Al said is huge. If they can get one in the opening 2 in Boston, this could determine the whole series. And I guarantee you, though, Coach Brad Stevens is letting his players know that as well. But interesting one, and I think for sure for the 8 and the 1, this is the one that I could, if an upset could happen, I think it could be here.
I'd be interested to know historically when was the last time a #1 seed was this small of a favorite over a #8 seed. Be interesting. All right, now let's move on to Atlanta and Washington. Washington is -220 to win the series. Atlanta +180 to win the series. So a very competitive line relative to most NBA playoff futures odds in the opening round. And Washington was a good bet on the road. The Hawks were a bad bet at home. So maybe we look for Washington maybe to take the series. I don't know. Al McWherty, what's your take on this one?
Well, these two teams met in the season opener for both clubs, and Atlanta did win that ball game, but it's been all Wizards since. The Wizards won the last 3 meetings of this series. And again, that Washington's the better team. They've won 3 out of 4 regular season meetings. I like Washington here to win the series. I would take Washington.
Okay, Mike Brenner, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing, though. John Wall right now is he's dealing with some sore quadriceps, and that is nothing to that you're just going to recover overnight. And I think if Martin Gortat, however you pronounce his name, if he doesn't step up, I think Atlanta could come and get this series. The way Atlanta played against Cleveland, and I know Cleveland's been up and down, but those 2 games when they had no quit in them, I'm telling you, I think Washington's in for a battle here, and this is my one series that I think if there's an upset that could happen, I think Atlanta could maybe steal this thing in 7. But
this is also an interesting series of contrasts. Of course, Washington was a big over-trender on the year. The Hawks were a big under-trender on the year. So it'll probably be a challenge of who will be able to impose their will as far as the pace of the game is concerned. And then the Bucks and Raptors, another interesting one. The Bucks, kind of enter the playoffs with nothing to lose. The Greek Freak just wants to upset as much as he can. And, Toronto has that all-star backcourt, which is now starting to get healthier. I don't know. I could say, and Toronto was a good bet on the year actually overall, 45-36-1 ATS overall in the year. But I could see, Milwaukee, if not taking the series, winning the series in terms of ATS and playing better than their market valuations. Right now, Toronto's -600 to win the series, and Milwaukee +450. Al McWherty, what's your take on this one?
Well, this is my second favorite series proposition. My favorite one, as we just mentioned, was on the Houston Rockets to beat Oklahoma City. My second favorite is on the Toronto Raptors to beat Milwaukee. Toronto's completely dominated the Milwaukee Bucks. They've won 13 of the last 15 meetings. They're 3-1 straight up and against the spread this year. Their average point spread differential in the 4 games this year was +5.25. They're 10-5 ATS the last 15 meetings. I really like Toronto. I'm going to lay the 600.
All right. Okay. Mike Brenner, what do you think?
It's hard to, to refute the numbers. 1-5 versus Toronto. ATS last 6. Milwaukee, they do struggle. My only question, and I don't think it's a big thing, but DeRozan is dealing with some kind of weird illness right now. They don't know. He's questionable. I'm sure he's going to play. But I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee sneaks and gets 1 or 2 wins here because of the Greek Freak. And I think Matthew Dellavedova might step up with his playoff experience. But if any indication how these two were during the year, Toronto should be a cakewalk. But I'm not sold on Toronto like that because of Dwayne Casey, and I don't want to start going off on him right now. We'll wait till another time.
All right, now let's wrap it up with I think the topic that everyone is most concerned with in the playoffs. What's up with the Cavs? How good or bad are they? How elite or non-elite are they? They are the #2 seed against the Pacers, and I don't know. The Cavs close the series with kind of an extended subpar showing, right? Yeah. Both in terms of their 1-loss record and in terms of some of their advanced metrics. They're about -900 to win the series. The Pacers are plus 600 on the other side. I don't think we're going to see a sweep here. Question is, how many games do you think the Pacers will win? 1, 2, 3, or maybe 4? Al McMorty, what's your take?
Shaky nod to one game, I guess, is maybe a sweep. I don't know. Yeah. I like Cleveland to win this. This would be my third favorite series bet. I think, no, I don't think Cleveland's going to win the title, but I do think they're going to do really well in the playoffs. There are only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that have given Cleveland fits. One is the Chicago Bulls, and the other is the Atlanta Hawks, and the odds are they're not going to play either of those teams in their 3 Eastern Conference series. They've completely dominated Indiana. Now, it's true Indiana's covered the spread against the Cavaliers. The Pacers are 8-2-1 ATS the last 11 meetings, but Cleveland's won 7 of those 11 straight up. They've won 3 of the 4 regular season meetings this year. I like Cleveland. I'm going to lay the 880 in the series.
All right. The worst team, let me see, after the All-Star break, the worst team in terms of allowed points per possession was the LA Lakers, a terrible team. You know who the second worst team in the NBA was after the All-Star break?
Probably Cleveland.
That's right. It was Cleveland. Good guess, guys. Good guess, guys. So that's Cleveland definitely struggled on defense after the All-Star break. All right, let's go to you, Mike Brenner. The Indiana Pacers. Do you think they'll win 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, or maybe 4 games? What do you think?
I think they could win 1, but I got a feeling the first game is going to be an absolute blowout. All right, I really think that Cleveland has had time now to let it sink in what was happening, what's going on, and I guarantee you they're saying we got to get this one over as quick as possible because we do need the rest. I mean, they had 2 or 3 overtime games in the last week of the season. Kyrie Irving, though, is dealing with the knee issues. But on the other side of the ball, this is why I really like Cleveland in Game 1. Jeff Teague has an ankle injury that is really, really, it's worse than anybody knows. He's questionable. Al Jefferson also dealing with an ankle injury. Not that he's a big impact, but I just think they're pissed off. They know they could beat this team. They've dominated this team, and they know that they need a sweep so they can rest. I look for this to be an absolute blowout by 15 or more Game 1.
All right, so let's wrap it up with just our summarize it with our thoughts and our recommended plays. Al McMorty, obviously you like the Warriors to win the West, I assume, at -250, and to win the championship at -144. What other futures odds do you think have some value right now?
Well, I would only take them to win the championship because I don't think anyone in the East is beating them. So why would I, lay, I mean, maybe San Antonio could do it. So I would rather lay the 144 to win the championship than I would to the 250 to win the West. But that's really the only thing I like. I like Golden State to win the championship.
All right, Mike Brenner, any summarizing thoughts for this early preview?
Yeah, even with the roller coaster ride Cleveland have, I just don't see anybody else in the East that can beat them. Like Al said, Atlanta gave them fits in the Bulls, but I don't think they're going to line up with either of them. I think we might be looking at, literally a Golden State and Cleveland matchup in the finals. But I think as far as early on, I really like Milwaukee to get a couple games against Toronto, and I like the Clippers to really cover ATS in damn near every game.
All right, sounds good. Awesome thoughts, guys. Al McMorty's website is bigal.com. Give a quick plug for that before we let you go, Al.
Sure. Folks can go to bigal.com. We have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 free plays every single day. 2 from myself, 1 from Larry Ness, 1 from Scott Spreitzer. Just go to bigal.com and click on free picks. You can also get our best selections. We have 16 handicappers, the best handicappers in the world, at the website, and you can click on picks for sale to get all of our best selections. I'm going to have 2 huge plays in the NBA on Saturday, so you don't want to miss those 2 NBA plays that kick off the playoffs.
All right. Awesome, Al. Thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.
Thanks Al. Have a great day.
Well, this episode of The Odds Couple is over. But if you give us a like and click SBR's logo at the bottom of the screen to subscribe, then you'll get all the upcoming videos as soon as they come out. And don't forget to take advantage of our website. There's free picks, live betting lines, and sportsbook reviews and ratings guides, and a whole lot more. Check it out now.